Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, I know that this is a pretty odd format to open up with one of our guides, but we're taking a bit of a different approach today with Buling. Buling is going to be the newest 4-star character added to the roster in Wuthering Waves, and she accomplishes quite a few roles. She's got healing, she's got damage amplification, and specifically big bonuses to resonant skill damage. And what we're going to be doing today is walking through how this Black Shores consultant can add to a lot of different lineups that you might already have right now, and the potential that she has for the future. And if this is one of your first times on the channel, or if you've been here before, make sure you do like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. So without further ado, let's go ahead and actually start taking a look at this character's kit. And don't worry, I've basically figured out everything that they're going to do. And so we're just going to go ahead and actually go through, take a look at Ascendant Aces, and then preview her kit over there before we start talking about some of her actual team rotations. So when it comes to Buling and her actual playstyle, she's going to be one of the most simple, but also one of the more satisfying characters in the game to actually play. And the way that her kit works is pretty simple. The idea is that she has a forte circuit that she wants to build up by doing a combination of basic attacks, resonance skills, and heavy attacks. And once her forte is fully filled after doing 2 enhanced heavy attacks, she'll gain access to an enhanced resonance liberation. And the goal is, don't actually use your regular resonance liberation when you're playing her, just go for all the enhanced stuff. So let's talk about all the ways that you can actually build up this forte meter. And this one, it can get a little bit tricky, but just make sure that you follow along. So Buling's forte circuit exists in 2 parts. She's gonna have the buildup over here, and then she's also gonna have the buildup over here. So performing basic attacks, the second stage over here gives me a thunder trigram. Or sorry, it gives me a mountain trigram. Performing the 4th stage of my basic attack is going to give me a lightning one. So, now that I have all of these trigrams set up, I've got 2 mountains, 1 lightning, and 2 mountains. If I do a heavy attack over here, I'll get one of her yin and yang tokens. Performing an attack, for an example, that used mountain and thunder will give her either a yin or a yang, and an attack that's mountain, mountain, or thunder, thunder is going to give her the opposite. And so the idea is that you want 1 yin and you want 1 yang to be able to actually build up all of her stuff. And so you're going to see over here, I did one where I did a thunder and a mountain. Now I'm going to do the second one, right? And that one gave me mountain and mountain. And so now that I've combined both of those together, you're going to see I've got the yin and yang circling over here. And now I gain access to an enhanced resonance liberation. And that one shoots off a giant cannon, consumes the entire forte circuit, and you're going to see over here, it's applying electro flare to every enemy on the field. 2 stacks of it every 2 seconds. And that's something pretty cool that she does. And you're going to notice that enhanced resonance liberation put everything that we have on cooldown. One last thing to note when it comes to her kit is that her resonance skill also gives a thunder charge. You're going to see over here, that gave you one of the blue ones. And so now when I do a mountain attack by getting the second, I got access to that heavy attack. Now there's going to be another interesting interaction that she has as well. If you basic attack after using her skill, you'll immediately do the 4th stage of her basic attack. And that immediately lets me generate 2 thunders. So that's another way that you can actually shortcut her rotation, and they gain access to all the cool things that you can do. So now that we've shown off that final tech, we basically covered every single part of her kit. Yes, that's it. Those are basically all of her on-field moves. As you can see, the character isn't really that complicated. Now let's just do a full rotation that's incorporating all of her different mechanics. And for the sake of this one, we're going to go ahead and actually intro skill, and then have our concerto start from closer to 0, right? Just so we can kind of see what's going on. All right, so when you're on the field, you're going to basic attack twice, then basic attack more, and then do a skill, and then a basic attack. Then you're going to do your double heavies, and then your liberation. Then you're going to echo skill, and then swap to the next character on the team. That's it. Yeah, that's what her playstyle essentially consists of. Basic attack 4 times, then E, then basic attack again, then liberation, and then swap. She's got one of the fastest rotations in the game. It's very, very, very simple. And as you can see, she's got some lingering off-field presence as well. And the damage isn't terrible. Now, you might be wondering, okay, what do I do then if I have a little bit of extra concerto from, I don't know, intro skilling in? And that's where you're going to get one last little bonus that you can do. And this one's going to be kind of cool. So for this alternative rotation, right, we're pretending that we're on Carlotta, and we just finished off her rotation, and now we're going to Buling. We're going to intro skill in.
Hear my call, okay?
Then use that jump attack. And then just use the double hits. And that one's going to be slightly faster. Because we have the extra concerto from using our intro skill, we don't actually need to do a full basic attack rotation. And we'll still end up with full concerto afterwards. So that's something cool to keep in mind as well. That's essentially every single thing when it comes to using all of Buling's on-field attacks. Now let's actually start talking about what her abilities actually do and start reading off some of their effects. We've done a lot of the on-field stuff. Now let's get into some of the actual wording. So when it comes to Buling and what she actually does, her basic attack straight up does a couple of things. If you do a combination of Mountain over Thunder, like we saw before, right? You get your Mountain from your second basic attack, you get Thunder from your fourth, and then you get Thunder from your skill. We all understand that. When you do Mountain over Thunder, you just deal damage. When you do Thunder over Mountain, you deal additional vibration strength damage, but less actual damage. And when you do Twin Mountains, 2 yellows, you heal the team. And when you do Twin Thunders, 2 blues, you heal the team over time. So that's essentially the thing that she has going on over here. And if you mess up with her kit, she's got something pretty neat as well. If you mess up and you don't have trigrams when you're doing your heavy attack, she'll essentially misfire and, well...
Too greedy.
Well, yeah, a little bit greedy, a little bit stupid. So that's something that can actually occur if you mess up queuing up her resources. So if you ever see that animation, you know it's 1,000,000% skill issue. Next, when it comes to her resonance skill, it's pretty simple. It deals electro damage, and it also pulls in enemies too. So she has gradual grouping that actually lasts a long time built into her kit, which is pretty cool. And then she's also got that basic attack shortcut as well. Next up, looking at her Forte circuit, you probably guessed from all the stuff that we were doing before, her only goal is to build up her yin and yang balance, right? When she does one of the damaging attacks, she gets a yang, and when she does one of the healing attacks, heavy attacks, she gets a yin. And you can clearly see, you do 1 damaging attack, 1 healing heavy attack, you'll get the full bonus, and then you'll be able to use her Enhanced Resonance Liberation. And the way that this Enhanced Resonance Liberation works is pretty simple. You fire it off, and then it creates a lingering field that applies 2 stacks of Electro Flare every 2 seconds to all enemies in it. And then you also apply a special buff to your team. And this buff works pretty much exactly the same as Shorekeeper's. So let's just see how it works. So in the Thunder Spell Primordial Key zone that she's going to create, when you use an intro skill, the first one on your team, the active character gets a 10% resonant skill damage bonus. When you use the second intro skill, the active character gets a 25% resonant skill damage bonus. So essentially, it's like Shorekeepers, where the strength of it builds up as your teammates use more intro skills, and your main DPS, which is typically the third character that intro skills on your team, or really the second character, sorry, that intro skills in your rotation, they get the full damage buffs. So you can probably guess what this means. Her ideal teammates are going to be characters like a Carlotta, maybe a Jinhsi, and maybe a character like Phrolova. But as you can see, there's not a lot of resonant skill damage dealers in the game, just something to think about over there. So you've heard me talking a lot about her Enhanced Liberation. And the thing is, you only want to use her Enhanced Liberation that's seen in her Forte circuit. You never actually want to use her baseline one, because her baseline one and her enhanced one share the same cooldown and also consume resonance energy. So if you're ever using this regular version, it's also a skill issue. This character basically has 2 critical moments that are telling you that you're not playing her correctly. If you ever use her regular liberation, or if you ever use that misfire heavy attack. So yeah, that's just something to think about over there. And last thing that I'll mention about her kit is that her dodge counter will also advance her basic attack as well and let you get a Thunder Trigram faster. And her mid-air attack also gets one too. So yeah, those are the last things that I'll say when it comes to Buling's baseline abilities. Now let's take a look at some of her concerto ones. All right, so her concerto ability is just going to be, for the intro skill, just heal people on the team. It doesn't advance her basic attack chain or anything. It just gives her mainly concerto. Not really that impactful of an ability. Her outro skill, though, this is where stuff gets a little bit spicy. She's got the same outro skill, essentially, as a Verena, a Shorekeeper, and a Baizhi, but it's a little bit stronger than Baizhi's. 15% outro amp to the entire team. This essentially has her fill a very similar role to Verena for most individuals, except she's going to be better. Buling's probably going to be better for resonant skill damage dealers than Verena, oddly enough. So yeah, that's just something to think about. She actually does have use cases where she's stronger than some 5-star units. Next up, let's look at her Heron skills. She's going to have a 25% healing bonus when restoring HP for resonators with less than 50%. Not that crazy, because if you're ever this low, it means you must have gotten hit a lot. Just a nice little thing, I guess, for her sustain roll. And then her second inherent skill is actually going to be more Electro Flare support. Whenever she uses an intro skill, enemies are immediately going to get 4 stacks on them. And it can be triggered once every 10 seconds. It just makes it so that her max Electro Flare application is 28 as opposed to just 24. So that's pretty cool. Should be able to fully max out the debuff. Should be a nice little bit of damage on some teams. But yeah, that is going to be Buling's full kit and all of the details that it has. Now, let's start talking about building and investment when it comes to this character. So, when it comes to actually building her, it's not going to be that crazy. Let's start off with her skill priority. We were just there anyways. Let me just make some honest takes about this unit. You don't actually need to max out any ability on this character for her to perform, because this character at a baseline doesn't really deal that much damage. She deals more than like other supports, but it's not to the point where investing in it is necessarily something that you should do. But if you do want to invest in whatever damage that she has, you're going to want to max out her Forte Circuit first, right? You're never using her regular Liberation, so you could just keep this at literally 1. You could just max out her Forte Circuit and call it a day. However, you might find some use in doing things like, maybe, you can see over here, the motion values on these abilities are really, really, really bad. I would just say invest in her Forte and don't really worry about the other skills. You could honestly just keep them at 1, because all that's getting increased is damage. And maybe you want to level up her basic attack to increase the healing, and maybe your intro skill to increase the healing. But do keep in mind, her only healing is on her basic and her intro skill. So if you're looking to maximize healing, go for those. If you're looking to maximize damage, go for these. Don't really invest in these two. I don't really recommend it. So yeah, that's going to be her skill priority. Now let's talk a little bit about her echoes. She really only has one option. You're going to want to go Rejuvenating Glow on her. And when it comes to her substats, it's also going to be pretty simple. You want ER. That's what you want. You just want a shit ton of ER. And the good news is that you can just go double 3 costs on ER and you pretty much should be set to go. Supports are typically some of the easiest characters to build in the game. And with Rejuvenating Glow providing both healing bonus, which, you know, not really that helpful, but with Rejuvenating Glow also providing an attack bonus to the entire team, well, you stack that with her Resonant Skill damage boost. You got the Fallacy of No Returns attack buff to the team as well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you will be set for some pretty powerful overall team buffs. You could also just put on your Verena set on her, which you probably already have. You probably already have a Verena set, and they both scale off of attack, so you can just do that too. That would be my recommendation. There's no real need to roll a whole new set for her if you already have other supports invested in. So that's going to be Buling. That's going to be her Sonata set. Now let's start talking about her weapons. You probably guessed it. You naturally want to use something like Variation because, well, you want ER, right? And the character doesn't really deal damage except on her Forte Circuit. And so you have a bunch of options that you can choose, right? You can go for Variation and just go for, like, literally just transfer over your Verena's build and then call it a day. Or you could decide to maybe invest in her a little bit more damage oriented, right? And if you are going to go damage oriented, this is the way that I would kind of like look at it. And we'll be making sure to actually use some official resources for this comparison over here. let's just go ahead and take a look at Pride Win over here. So if you're looking for the more damage-oriented options, once again, you're not looking for the ER and you're not looking for the ease of rotation. String Master is going to be your best overall bet, but do keep in mind, right? Pride Win is providing all these details. She's a support. She doesn't need to do damage, and investing in her damage is going to be a very small increase in your team's overall DPS. But if you are, the best options are going to be String Master because it's a general all-attribute weapon that just provides attack, and she has a resonance skill that she can use, and it lingers on the field, so she can max out the attack buff on it. Lethean Elegy is another solid option with great overall stats, base stats as well, 583 attack, and that nice 24% crit rate. But unfortunately, right, it boosts resonance skill damage, and she doesn't really deal that much resonance skill damage, and it also has echo skill damage boost, which she doesn't deal either. And then all these other ones, they're just like 5-star weapons that none of them are really going to increase any of her damage bonuses, and they're all just attack and crit stat sticks for her because once again she's a support. So yeah, my recommendation would be use Cosmic Ripples, the standard 5-star if you have it, and or Variation, but preferably Variation, just simply due to the fact that yes, you can basically just take your Varina's build or part of your Shorekeeper's build and then just move it on over. That is going to be my recommendation for every player. But if you do want to build her damage, I still suggest you keep her on Rejuvenating Glow. If you really feel the need to, I still suggest you keep her on Rejuvenating Glow, and then you just go for this instead. All right, now we've taken a look at her build. We've taken a look at her skills. We've taken a look at her echoes. Now let's take a look at the last piece of investment over here. And this is the one that a lot of people are probably going to be interested in. Her sequence notes. Let's go through them and talk about them piece by piece. So the first one over here is going to give her increased crit rate on her enhanced liberation. So yes, you can see that there are some damage-oriented sequence nodes in here. Her second one is going to give her additional resonance energy. And so as you can see, when you start getting this character sequence nodes, you can start building a lot more for damage. And that's really the goal. At S0, I think you just take the Varina build and then throw it onto her. As you get more sequence nodes, though, you can see her ER issues start getting alleviated. And she can start budgeting more stats into more damage options. Her third just gives people more healing. So you can see she's got like a blend of sequence nodes, some personal damage, some support oriented. This is going to just, when the HP of somebody on the team drops below 50%, give them a bit of a heal. It's like Shorekeeper, but it like won't stop you from dying. Next up, fourth node. Just a very vanilla S4. All S4s are usually kind of dog ass. This one is just a 20% healing bonus. And next up, we got the 5 Thunder Spell Array. It's going to give her more Electro Stack application, or Electro Flare application. So it's going to take her from, I believe, 24 stacks to 34 total, which is kind of a lot. And now our last one. The Thunder Spell, Heaven, Earth, Mind. She's going to gain even more resonance skill damage bonus. And this is actually almost an unethical amount. This will make her bonus go from 25 to 50. 25% resonance skill damage to 50. That essentially doubles one of the main buffing tools in her kit. It is one of the strongest S6s I've seen in the game. And it's one of the strongest ones I've seen attached to a support. And again, if you got this S6, she will undeniably be better than Varina for some of the lineups in the game. So let's start talking about some of those lineups now. You can see that the character really scales well with nodes. Now let's actually start talking about what she can do in some teams. So when it comes to Buling, you clearly saw she's a big resonance skill damage booster. And so for us to really get a good portrayal of what she's capable of, we're probably going to have to use her with some resonance skill damage dealers. And thankfully, I've been able to build up quite a nice little arsenal to test out with. The lineup that we're going to be using is going to be Phrolova into Buling into a Cantarella. And this is going to be one of those lineups that you can actually run because Buling is running on Phrolova and Cantarella's banner. And so this is one of those teams you're immediately able to make. So let me just free up some... What the hell kind of boo-boo ass team is that? Let's go ahead and free up some resources over here and do a bit of a run, just showing you all what the team is capable of. And the goal over here is we're probably just going to do like 2 rotations in the team, not do like the entire thing, just so you all can see as a taste, right? What this character is capable of. And we'll make sure to test out all the teams that she has as much as possible. So the rotation for this team is going to be really, really, really easy. Okay, you're just going to go ahead, open up on your Phrolova. This one's going to have some sequence nodes, right? So we're going to pretend that they're not there. Just do another basic attack chain. And then do our cord attack, right? We got the Scarlet Coda out. And now we're going to intro skill in onto Buling. And then 1, 2, jump attack. And then that's it. That's her rotation, boys. You can see over here, it should probably remind you of certain characters that do it really, really, really fast. Yeah, that's her rotation, boys.
Thus, your preparatory beats begin.
And as you can see, we're just going to do one more rotation because it's pretty clear what's going on here.
Spirit, I command you.
And that's it. And you can see over here, we barely had enough ER with her at around like 400. And that's why I'm telling you, yeah, you probably want to build ER until you get some of her sequence nodes. And even with her S2, which we do have, it's taking a little bit long. But yeah, that's just going to be what it looks like from a 2 rotation angle. And as you saw, that feels pretty comfortable and it seems pretty good. And just so you all know, that Buling, the ER that it had on her was it was a relatively high amount of ER. And, you know, it did look like it was a little bit loosey-goosey over there. So I would say try to get her to around 230. Maybe, you know, get her to around like 200 at like a first pass. She has pretty high ER requirements. I would say just shoot for like double ER at first. You should have it from Rejuvenating Glow and then modify it from there, just based off of some testing. This might be too excessive, especially with S2, but as you can see, it's still getting some good results. Now, let's try out another team that's going to feature Buling. And that one's going to be another traditional lineup, ladies and gentlemen, featuring a resonant skill damage dealer. And that's going to be none other than Zhezhi and Carlotta. So, this is actually going to be, in my opinion, Buling's best team, or maybe even her second best. It's going to be in competition with the Phrolova team. And this one's also going to be very good. Just keep in mind that this Carlotta does have sequence nodes, the one that we're using. So, again, we're just going for the team's rotation, not necessarily, right, the actual damage it's doing, because this is a somewhat invested account. All right, so we're just going to open up. Then just do the regular cast. And that's it. Boom. That's her intro rotation, boys. I would say the only thing is that maybe in this team,
My company found your weak spot.
I would say only in this team, maybe you would go ahead and do a little bit of swap canceling at the start, but otherwise, it pretty much plays exactly the same as like having a Shorekeeper. And do keep in mind, this Carlotta usually should be skilling at the start, but because she's S3, I'm not doing that.
Still valuable?
Oh, whoopsies.
Quiet now.
Yeah, I kind of messed up that rotation over there. But sometimes you can miss a trigram like I just did, and that could screw you over as well. So do keep that in mind. Buling does have the capability to brick your rotation if you do end up missing one of her trigrams. That's just something that can happen. But she does have one of the fastest ones in the game. So, basic attack, 1, 2, 3, 4. Skill, attack, then double heavy, and then use your liberation.
Demons perish.
Then we just go through, do a fun little thing over here.
Capture the spark. Infra. My company. Planning won't save you. The stage is set.
Then you just do the Carlotta team rotation. Everyone knows how simple this one is. Fire out that last shot. Intro skill it onto Buling. Then do your skill.
Take a breath, love.
And then just
Heaven's thunder
keep rotating through. So yeah, as you can see, this unit is extremely fast, also quite strong, and scales very well with sequence nodes. However, her damage, not the best, and she has some high ER requirements. Now let's do our final team, ladies and gentlemen. And this is going to be the one that I feel like is going to be a little bit tricky. We might have to practice it a little bit, but I think we should be able to figure it out. And this one is none other than... well, we're going to keep two teammates exactly the same. It's going to be a Jinhsi team. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. This character has some potential to work with Jinhsi, but do realize it's not as good as with having Verena. Because this character wants coordinated attacks. Verena has one. However, Buling doesn't have any. So let's see how the team would rotate. It plays a little bit similarly to having a shorekeeper on the team. And if you have someone like Zhezhi or Cantarella, it's not that bad. So you just start off on Jinhsi over here, right? You do one of her, you immediately get into her incandescent state. Fire off that first skill to get her outro skill and everything ready. Then you just echo skill it on her. Do a basic attack chain on Zhezhi. And then use her liberation. And then go on to Buling. And then do her double attack. Then go like that, boom, and then go back onto Jinhsi, right? And you're gonna notice, oh my goodness, my forte circuit is kind of high. That's because this is the rotation that you typically want to do to well, max out your Jinhsi's potential. And as you're seeing over here, I kind of actually went like a little bit too fast. I kind of went like a little bit too fast. But that's going to be, well, this team's rotation. That was one whole rotation. Oh, dear.
No more playing around. Thunder command.
But yeah, that's it.
Hell tremble. Together we fight. Heaven ordained.
We did get hit there. But you're probably seeing, okay. I'm starting to see the vision now. And while I'm not going to go ahead and say that this team, right off the rip, looks like noticeably crazy stronger than, like, the Shorekeeper alternative or the Verena alternative, it's one that you can use knowing that your Shorekeeper or your Verena are going to be busy on other teams. And that by alone is one of the strengths, right? Now you can use Shorekeeper or Verena on other lineups, and you effectively don't really lose any strength slotting in a low sequence node Buling into that lineup. So yeah, that's going to be all the team overviews, and we've already taken a look at her rotation as well. So now it's time for us to take our hat off and talk about this unit, talk about her performance, and talk about, well, let's just be honest here, this idea of pull value. I'm going to be honest. This is probably the best 4-star character that not just Kuro Games has released in a gacha, but probably the best 4-star character that a gacha game has released in the past couple of months, if not like the past year or so. The role that she fills on the roster and the niche that she has is great design. That's what I'm going to say. She's able to elevate a certain archetype of team that isn't overperforming at all. She isn't like some crazy best-in-slot option until she gets to S6. And at that point, she really greatly becomes stronger than Verena in a lot of teams. But that makes sense for a character that's released almost 2 years into the game as a 4-star. I think that she has a huge level of strength that gets a lot stronger as she gets invested in. But unfortunately, it's going to be really hard to get copies of her unless you're willing to pull on, well, the Phrolova or Cantarella banner. But the thing is that she performs so well with Phrolova and Cantarella that if you're a new player, this is probably one of the better banners that you could actually pull on. However, I'm not going to go ahead and tell you that she's worth the corals or worth potentially risking a dupe that you don't want to get a copy of her, because she's not going to go ahead and change anything on your account. She's just going to be a side grade option on 3 teams in the game, and then worse than Shorekeeper or Verena on every other team. However, if you just get her on the off chance you get her from like the standard banner, you get her from like this, you get her from like losing pity anywhere else, then it's fine, right? It's nice that you have her, and when you get her S6, she'll be a decent boost over Verena in some teams, but I don't think it's a character worth chasing for. However, are you going to be happy when she pops up on the standard banner? Yes. Are you going to be happy when she's not rate up and you get a copy of her? Yes, because she's just a good unit, but she's not like a necessary unit for characters to work. And when I compare this to games and other 4-star designs, specifically like Genshin Impact, think about characters like Farazan, Chevreuse, Goro, where entire archetypes and 5-star characters are actually not playable unless you have those characters at S6 or C6. That you need a C6 4-star to use some of these units, right? And the fact that Buling doesn't feel necessary for any unit to function is great. However, she does have that Electro Flare potential built into her kit for 3.02. That's something that we also have to heavily think about and factor into her overall rating, because she could be somebody that scales very well into the future as well. However, I hope that she also doesn't feel like she needs her, I don't know, S5 to work in the Electro Flare teams, but there's potential of it, because this is a sequence node that's literally increasing her application by like 25% for the debuff, which is kind of significant. So yeah, we'll just have to see how she ages, whether or not she feels more mandatory in the future, but for now, she's entirely unnecessary, but a great add to your account. And that's the final take that I'll make. Overall, fantastic design as a unit. Not the biggest fan of her character overall, but she adds a great level of depth to the roster that I think any player should be able to appreciate. So yeah, that'll be it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you all thought, and if you enjoyed this guide, this mini guide, this kind of like breakdown that we did over here instead of the full-fledged one, well, make sure you subscribe. Peace out.